People, TV here with Fit Bully TV. Listen, we're about to take advantage of the same opportunity we take every day. Better ourselves and better our dogs. In today's episode, I'm going to be highlighting what is a Fit Bully. What does it look like? What does it feel like? How does it make you feel? And hopefully you learn from the things that you see why these dogs are so important to us. I ended up watching an interview earlier. For those who love dogs and animals, Dr. Poland, Dr. Pol, I believe. You go to Nat Geo, you've got Disney Plus, turn it on. And he talks real briefly about why he thinks it's important for everyone, especially children, to be raised with dogs. He believes it makes you a better human, and dog man. It's one of those things I wish I said. So, years ago, I started with the pit bulls, game dogs, and I wanted everybody to feel the way that I felt about this dog. All my dogs. And most people don't know this is my third time trying to get this right. Or just finish. Not even right. I got it right, but I didn't finish. I had Adonis. I bought a dog named Missy for $150 out of North Kansas City, boy. She was so awful that I remember taking her outside. And she's the kind of dog to come in and shit right at your feet just because she was an ornery bitch. And we had Drake, we had Athena, we had Atlas, and we had Coco. Out of all those, and Adonis. There was a color back in the day that we called Blue Seal. And Adonis looked like the Joker. He was all white, and he had a half of like a blue, dark gray face. He was drop dead gorgeous. And if you know me, I like Greek mythology, which is Athena and Atlas. And so, got these dogs, had this whole plan, and some things didn't go the way that I wanted to in life. So I ended up reaching out to an uncle. Let me tell you this story. I had this thing. I was big into fitness, which I always have been and probably always will be indirectly. And my uncle Timothy Lasker, I hadn't seen him in probably like 3 years. And he's a foster kid. My grandmother raised about 8 foster kids. 2 of her own, 5 of her, two kids, and then like 7 foster, something like that. And so I said, "Hey Grandma, do you have Uncle Tim's number? I think I want to take fitness a little bit more serious." And she said, "No, I don't have it." Get this. I asked her that the first, like, let's say on a Thursday. Friday, Uncle Tim ends up getting a new phone. He gets a new phone. He butt dials Grandma. He don't check his phone. She answers. And then he like checks his phone and is like, "Yo, I call Mom?" That's what he called her. And when calling Mom, she calls him back. Then she hits me up and says, "Hey, I got your Uncle Tim's number." I said, "Hey, I know 3 years ago you told me you was doing something called Rock Solid Fitness. And Unc, I think I wanna learn as much as I can and do what I can do with the fitness thing." He says, "Well, what's your goals?" And I kind of told him, and I shot him some shots of him, some pictures. He's like, "Yo, yeah, come on down." Come on down. And I helped him build some of his business. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. Point of me adding that in there is I end up having to sell all the dogs. And the only dog that I could not get rid of was Coco. Now, one of the reasons why Coco was so special was because she was the first dog that I bought when I bought this tribe. And I even remember my mom coming to pick me up from this apartment I lived off of a 119th Strang line. And my bishop now, back in the day when I was heavy in the church, the pastor's wife was even in there. And my cousin, I won't say her name because we don't get along now, but she hates dogs. And she said, "Why don't you just call her Coco?" I was like, I guess that's her name. And so Coco had to stay. And if you know anything about shipping a dog through the airplane, one thing about Arizona is once you get into the 90s, you're in the 90s and in the hundreds for the whole summer. Like, it's like you go 70, it's a week of 70s, 80s, 90s, and then it's a $120, $110 the rest of the summer. Well, no dog can fly in the sky freight, my bad, unless it's like below, it's like 85 or something crazy, right? So I end up reaching out to a guy I had bought a dog named Chaos from. So get this, I pay a guy named Ryan Banks $750 for a pit bull I never got to see. I saw him when he was a puppy. I moved within the 8 weeks. I paid him off. He watched Coco for me because I had nowhere else to put her. He had 4 kids in a townhome in Olathe. And I got this dog who was blue fawn with a patch. Gorgeous. Never touched him. But my mom, I said, Mom, look, you got to go pick up Coco. And I didn't have no money. I said, you got to ship her to me. You got to. She got to come. Now, mind you, I'm moving with my uncle, and his wife hates dogs. She got 2 cats, matter of fact. And so she's like, I'm like, yo, I understand, but this dog got to come. Like, I sold everything. She's got to come. And so I remember my mom ended up, it was a day, it worked out. Coco came to me. It was $180 to send her back then, probably more expensive now. And I remember walking her in the house, and I had Coco into like mind control, if you would. And she said, "No, bring her in here." I said, "You sure?" Because when I walked in the house, she just followed my foot. She was like right on my heel. It's my girl, and she said, "Oh, she's nice." So fast forward, me and Coco, we kicking it, we hanging out, we doing like that's my peace while I'm in Arizona. I end up leaving my uncle, right, and him and I, we won't say we get into it, but his business started failing, his marriage started failing, definitely got a divorce, and I met a guy named Chuck. The story gets crazier, people, and normally I don't, this is the reason for this episode. I end up staying with a dude named Chuck, who's about 6'7", a white dude, and him and his dad clean pools for a living, so I helped him clean pools. And I said, "Chuck, I gotta bring my dog with me." He said, "That's fine." He had a dog. They get into it every now and then, but he had a dog, female pit bull. And so, at the time, I had this girl I was dealing with, and I flew back to Arizona because things were, not Arizona, to Cleveland, where she was at. And I was like, yo, shit's failing here. And I just need to make my own path. So while I'm at the airport flying to go to her to bring her to Arizona, Chuck calls, and I forgot what year it was, but he says, "Hey," because we had already planned, like, "Yo, when you come back, you can stay with me, and I'll just pay rent, right?" Man, Chuck calls and says, "My uncle just got put out of his house. He's got a wife, 2 kids. He's gonna stay here. I can watch Coco, but you can't stay." Now, at the time, I didn't know that my uncle was going to put me out neither. I gave my uncle money to help sustain his business. And while I'm on the plane, the second call I get was Timothy Lasker saying, "Trev, me and Tion got in and I don't even know where I'm going." It's okay. So now I'm going to go with this girl, right? And we got to drive from Ohio all the way back to Arizona, which is a good ways. It's 14 hours to Kansas City, and then 1,900 miles from there. And I tell you this, when I got there, my friend's mom, who people that know me know, she said, "If you want to turn back around and go figure whatever out and just leave, meaning when I get to Cleveland, let me know, I'll buy you a ticket, get out of there." Now everything's falling apart. And my only concern is Coco. How am I going to protect this dog? Where am I? Like, I already was 2.5 months without her. Get down there. 3 months later, my uncle gets evicted out of a home in Ahwatukee. Or my bad. Yep, in Ahwatukee. And I was right at the table when they made the decision. Tion, I shouldn't probably be using her name. Her check would have covered the rent, or they could have taken that check and got into an apartment in, I think, it wasn't the Biltmore area, but it was somewhere else. Maybe the Gilbert area. And they were like, "We're going to take a check and just move on, because he didn't believe in himself. And my uncle was egotistical, prideful individual, and I'll make sure you understand why. There was a group called the Mahoney Group, and they bought insurance and found services for everybody. My uncle took us out steroids, blew up like a Teletubby, and I helped him with boot camps. Well, the people there said, we want his nephew. And because they wanted me to train, now mind you, I even told him, keep all the money, bro, I'm here to learn from you. When he went out to the Mahoney Group to do their measurements and all the stuff that personal trainers do, they wanted him. And they wanted me, my bad. And he came back and laughed and said, I had to give him all their money back. Because they thought they was going to get you. And I said, hey, why would you just do it, man? No. Pride got in the way, people. Mind you, at this time I already got a job at the gas station because he was killing me. When I say killing me, I woke up one day in Arizona. If you know anything about the electricity, you have to pay by the day, basically. You go to the little Safeway, you put some on a card if you got that thing set up. So you wake up and you're like, well, why is it so hot in here? And he didn't have money for the electricity to be on. Gave money for that. And mind you, again, I'm working at the gas station, but I'm supposed to be helping him build his fitness company. And the whole time I'm just worried about my dog. That's the point of all this. This dog was like in the middle of all this shit. And I'm telling you this because dogs have been one of the main reasons why I've kept going in any and all things when things are falling apart. Coco ends up staying with Chuck. My uncle, I still to this day, I turned 21 when I was in Arizona. I'm 33 right now. To this day, I've never seen my uncle since I came back off that flight. Or since I drove back to Arizona. He put everything on the porch of on the first floor of an apartment complex. I grabbed my stuff and ain't heard from him or seen him in 13 years. And I repeat, if I didn't say, I did nothing but right by the dude. And he's still, to be clear, Tim, if you ever see this, go fuck yourself. He still ain't did shit with his life. So, that being said, Coco ends up staying with Chuck. I remember when she tore her nail a little bit. He showed me. Her and the dog got into it. Then I end up staying all over the place. Even slept in some benches. I worked a deal out with the general manager at LA Fit off of in Chandler. And he said, come in here, take showers. Funny story is this dude that used to shit in the steam room every morning. That shit was nuts. Motherfucker shitting, Trev. But we go in there, we take showers. Then I worked at a call center. And I remember getting fired from there. So you get this seasonal thing. This chick I know, she worked at the call center, got me put on. And then they were like, yo, your performance isn't good. And probably, 30 days after that, I got fired. In that process, my buddy Andrew, who had never had dogs, was like, yeah, you can stay with me. It cost you $550. It's not crazy. Of course, I had this young lady with me, and then I had this dog. Dog can come inside. Fast forward, Andrew now has 2 twins, a boy, and 2 boxers. The irony, I tell you. Motherfucker had no dogs. Now he got 2 boxers that he loves to death. And I know because I've seen Andrew since life fucking fell apart. So the constant in all this was everything. I mean, fuck the chick. Fuck her. But that dog always had me strung out like, bro, what am I going to do with Coco? And Coco was, to this day, she's about 14 years old. Still around. So Dr. Suman Kambadi, when I moved back to Kansas City eventually, because it was just too bad. There was nowhere for me to go. I couldn't figure out how to, get to the next step. And I'd come down there to build something with someone who I thought had my best interest at heart. And he didn't. He literally didn't. I lent the nigga money, never got it back, and never seen him again. He couldn't lose weight. I found out that he had been using the cycle of steroids. I said, bro, you up at 4 in the morning, jump rope and running all this stuff, you ain't losing no weight. I said, you probably gonna need to get your blood checked. And he did, and he had to tell me all this truth. Neither here nor there. Point is, dogs have been the most consistent thing that I've ever had in my life. And those dogs are the one things that have kept me going. So I come back to Kansas City and got Coco with me for a little bit. And I buy 5 more dogs. And then I end up finally breeding her. And it's a guy named Mike Steen. I was driving on, for those that know, in Kansas City, Quivira. And one night he's a Quivira and I see this black dog. And I don't even like black dogs. I'm like, what the fuck? Flip around. I'm like, yo, my guy, what's the fuck? He's like, yo, this Marley, that nigga had a 27-inch neck. And I was like, yo, I gotta fuck with him. And me and Mike got so cool. We cool to this day. And he said he needed to bust a nut. That's how niggas talk about dogs. And so we ended up doing a litter. Coco had 10 on Thanksgiving. Got a dog named Ace. And the whole point of this is, what is a fit bully? My homeboys, they all went to college. I didn't go the college route like that. I did run for a year, went to nationals, both indoor and outdoor. But my homeboys, they come back, and I used to have Coco even pulling weight. And they said, bro, everything gotta look like you. I said, nigga, ain't nothing in this house, chilling. And so, second round, I bought a dog, Champ, Kane, Raj, Anaya, and then I produced Ace. So I got 5 more dogs. And once again, I'm like, I'm about to do this dog thing again. Doesn't work. Doesn't work because then I built T-Fit. And T-Fit, it takes a lot of time. A lot of time. And for the most part, it's paying the bills. So, here we are, 2022. And I did all those things primarily by myself. And we're building Fit Bully Kennels. Fit, by definition, is what's suitable for you. And what's suitable for me is a dog that can work, because I come from a working dog background. And I like a dog that has muscle. And I love colors. So I had every color. I love Coco was chocolate. I had a fucking Neapolitan blue pit bull. I had a blue fawn, which was Kane. I had a tri-blue, which was Champ. And we're talking about gorgeous fucking dogs. Like, I just love a pretty dog. And so getting back in, I was like, man, let me find the pretty boys, and then let me build that line of health and intelligence. I love a smart dog as well. Coco was super smart. And Ace was goddamn, I mean, he was fucking brilliant. I think Ace could have picked locks. And Coco and Zara now, who's basically my foundation to building this whole thing out. Oh, man. Right back where I started, but again, most people don't know that this is my 3rd time. So what is a fit bully? It's a dog that can do. It's a dog that has muscle, a dog that has good breathing. We got longer than a 2 or 3 foot snout. A dog who is extremely focused, who's extremely passionate, who has a great temperament. People always say great temperament, but a temperament, like when they're watching videos of Ego with Frenchie puppies, as well as these dogs who are biting on them, while knowing the dog can bite and plays rough, you go, that's the kind of dog I want, because he's both extreme and subtle. There's a subtlety to him that allows you to enjoy the dog. So he's not over the edge. Now, his ego ramped up, yes, but if you bring him in the room, for the most part, he'll chew on some things, and chew on the bones we give him, to be clear. Then he'll relax. And as long as he does his work every day, or gets to get out and play and even work on his commands, he's good. One thing I heard Marlon say from DDK is 15 minutes with his dogs working outside is more impactful on the dog than somebody walking their dogs 2 miles. And if you really get into watching your dog think things through, when they're actually thinking, it's like us. You could be physically exhausted or you could be mentally exhausted. Which one's worse? It depends on who you're talking to, right? Because I'd rather be physically than mentally. My mind is pretty strong, so it's very hard for me to get there. But that physical, it'll put you to bed. So, a fit bully, it's simply a healthy dog. A healthy bully that I won't guarantee, but should live well over 10 years. Should have a good quality of life. Should be smart. Should have a great temperament. And should be two extremes. An extreme means this: if you want the dog to protect you and work, it should be able to do that. If you want it to be friendly, it should be able to do that. I didn't breed Ego because I'm a friendly person. I bred him so he could be my dog, personally. If he'll probably, as I said, top he'll do 5 breedings. 3 I have for sure planned out so I can get a couple more of them and even fix some issues in him. But if he never did a breeding, I'd survive. I'd survive and be okay with that. Because here we are again, in the business side even of the dog industry is in a better place. Which means I get to impact people. So let's talk about the impact. My grandmother's 90 years old. Never had dogs. Like that, to say the least. And never allowed us on the bed. I never saw my grandmother, who made us say words like insipid, ever wear a fucking, like, no pants. She's one of those old school, like, women who just believes in the hair being done. Even when she's in the gown, like the nightgown, she's fucking like hair's curled. DeMarcus over behind the camera shaking his head because, like, you everything 12 o'clock at night, Nana is clean. You understand? So I saw a woman be a woman basically every day of my life, and she didn't like no dirtiness, no dog hair, none of that stuff not happening. But what I love about Nana, she loved me so much. I remember one time I said, look, I ain't got nowhere to go, and these dogs need somewhere to stay. And I had 4 dogs. And I brought the motherfuckers there, and she was like, okay, baby. And she let 2 dogs hang out, and then finally she grew attached to Anaya. And Anaya was hers. And she died with her, you know. She died before her, but my grandmother was 90 years old and could still manage Anaya. And that's a testament to both the work I did and the love that I have for the dog, and that love extending to those that I love, and them loving me enough to say, come on in. Then my mother, and then some Indians that I know, and I'm talking like from the Asian Indian that don't even fuck with dogs like that. Like, yo, bring a 4-year-old pit bull in here. I'm telling you, people, it speaks volumes. So here we are again, and I'm watching the impact of the work I'm doing with my dogs improve people's quality of life, force them to get up and be a little bit better, inspire them to be a little bit more, learn a little bit more about the, like, what a dog can do, and be intentional in both their breeding program and the choices they're making when putting 2 dogs together or just spending time with their dog. I have no interest in being the world's greatest breeder. What I do have an interest in is breeding the best dog for me. And that may mean nobody ever gets one of my. If my dog had 1 dog every year and I got to keep it, I'd be good with that, because I'm not doing this for nobody but fucking me. And that's what makes a fit bully. It's special because of the time and effort and energy I put in to making my dogs look and feel and be special. And then people say, hey, I want my dog to be able to do that. You don't want to do this work. You don't want to do that work with Coco back in the day. You want to spend hours and hours in the backyard both cleaning up poop while also training the dogs, teaching the dogs, loving the dogs, feeding the dogs. And I don't mean no dog food. I'm talking like cooking chickens and green beans and anything that they need to get a specific result. You've got a athlete and an athlete. What you give them makes an athlete an athlete, and what you like, how they consume, like what they eat, the activity, the exercise. It changed what an athlete can do. And it's all about whose hands they're in. For those who love basketball, and you've watched the Isaiah Thomas story in them, the Jordan rules were put into effect because Jordan didn't work out like that. All of a sudden, you see the clip in there, Jordan doing lat pull downs, he built muscle. Now the Jordan rules are no longer in effect because he can come through the paint like this here and take all that beating and still dunk on your ass. Whose hands a dog lands in makes a difference. And I sometimes see the potential in a dog and say, I got it, don't worry, it'll be fine. I know what to do. And that's what also is unique about a fit bully, because my people who have access to me, if there's any dog that needs hope, or we have a belief in that just needs a little bit of work, I'll show you exactly what to do to get the best out of that dog. I've done it now at least 10 times. It's not an exaggeration. Some people say, I did 1,000 times. I've done it at least 10 times with dogs that were better than I expected them to be. And sometimes you're like, I don't know if this is gonna touch, but then they start like coming along. You go, oh, they're doing it. But it's all a matter of how well you care for them. So fit bully is one of the most important things that I probably ever spend my time doing, because I got back in because I thought to myself, I'm never gonna not have a dog, so I might as well participate in this very fucked up space where they fucking dogs up, and try my best to better it. Focus on the things that we do well and highlight those things in the best way possible. And hopefully, as you continue to watch this episode and future episodes, you will see for yourself that a happy dog is a healthy dog. A happy dog is a working dog. A happy dog is a dog who's getting the best food. A happy dog is a dog who gets to spend time with his owner. A happy dog is a dog who gets unconditional love, because they expend that, like they give unconditional love. They just want to be with you. And so hopefully in due time, not only will these fit bullies become a thing, if you would, but hopefully we get to that American Terrier that I think will be even more special. So stay tuned. Take care of your dogs. We're going to be doing more episodes at least once a week, where we kind of showcase the things we're doing here and how you could better your dog. I've got guests and people who will be participating in some of the episodes, but I wanted to start this off with, what is a fit bully? At the end of the day, healthy dogs matter. And a fit bully is a healthy dog. It's a dog at its best. And never, nothing less. Like, subscribe, share, people, and as always, take care of your dogs.